The aluminum container felt warm in Maria's calloused hands as she stepped out of the Italian restaurant where she'd worked the evening shift. Steam escaped from the edges, carrying the scent of marinara and garlic bread into the cold November air. Her shoulders ached from carrying trays for 8 hours straight, but the weight of the leftovers, pasta primavera that would have been thrown away, felt like a small victory. It wasn't much, but it would feed her and her daughter for 2 days. Maybe 3 if she stretched it. She pulled her thin jacket tighter and started the long walk to the bus stop, unaware that this ordinary Thursday night was about to change everything. The streets of downtown Portland were emptying as businesses closed for the night. Maria's worn sneakers made soft sounds against the pavement, and her breath formed small clouds in the chilly air. She'd been taking this route for 3 months now, ever since she'd lost her apartment and she and 7-year-old Sophia had moved into the women's shelter on Morrison Street. The shame of it still burned in her chest, but she pushed it down like she always did. There was no room for shame when you were busy surviving. As she turned the corner onto Fifth Avenue, she noticed a small crowd gathered near the entrance of a closed department store. Her instinct was to cross the street. Crowds meant trouble, or at least unwanted attention, but something made her pause. Through the cluster of people, she saw a little boy, maybe 4 or 5 years old, sitting on the cold concrete. His face was streaked with tears, and his small body shook with sobs that Maria could hear even from 20 feet away. "Where's your mama, honey?" An older woman was asking, her voice kind but helpless. "Is anyone calling the police?" A man in a business suit said, already backing away, clearly uncomfortable. Maria watched as person after person tried to help, but the boy only cried harder, his fear escalating with each new face. She should keep walking. She had her own problems. Sophia was waiting at the shelter, probably already worried about why Mama was late. The pasta was getting cold. But Maria's feet wouldn't move. Something about the boy's terrified eyes reminded her of Sophia during those first nights at the shelter, lost, scared, and desperately needing someone to make the world feel safe again. Setting the container down carefully by a streetlight, Maria approached slowly, crouching down to the boy's level but keeping a respectful distance. "Hey there, sweetheart," she said softly in English, then repeated it in Spanish, unsure which language he might understand. "My name is Maria. You're safe, okay? We're going to find your daddy." The boy's sobs quieted slightly. His eyes, red and puffy, fixed on her face. There was something about the gentle way she spoke, the way she didn't crowd him or demand answers, that seemed to break through his panic. "Can you tell me your name?" Maria asked, sitting down on the cold sidewalk beside him, making herself less intimidating. "T. Tyler," he hiccuped. "That's a strong name. Tyler, I have a daughter about this big." She held her hand up to show Sophia's height, "and sometimes when she's scared, it helps to take big breaths with me. Can we try?" She exaggerated a deep breath in and out, and slowly, Tyler began to mirror her. The crowd had mostly dispersed now that someone was handling the situation, though a few people lingered nearby. Maria's mind raced. The police had been called, someone said, but it could be 20 minutes before they arrived. This child needed help now. "Tyler, where's your daddy?" she asked gently. "We were shopping and I let go of his hand and there were so many people and," fresh tears spilled down his cheeks. Okay, it's not your fault, baby. Grown-ups get lost too sometimes." Maria glanced around at the storefronts, most darkened for the night. "What's your daddy's name?" "James. James Cooper." One of the lingering bystanders, a younger woman, spoke up. "I saw a guy absolutely losing it, calling someone's name near Pioneer Square about 10 minutes ago. He looked frantic. Pioneer Square was 3 blocks away. Tyler must have wandered in the wrong direction while his father searched in the other." Maria's heart ached thinking about both of them, father and son, each terrified and alone. "Tyler, I think I know where your daddy is," Maria said, making a decision. "But I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" She extended her hand, palm up, letting him choose. After a moment, Tyler placed his small, cold hand in hers. It was such a simple gesture, but the trust it represented made Maria's eyes burn with unexpected tears. She blinked them away quickly. "Let's go find him together," she said, pulling off her jacket and wrapping it around Tyler's shoulders despite the cold. She picked up her container of pasta with one hand and held Tyler's hand with the other, and they started walking toward Pioneer Square. The streets felt longer with Tyler's short legs setting the pace, but Maria kept up a steady stream of gentle conversation, asking about his favorite toys, his school, anything to keep him calm. She learned he loved dinosaurs, his mommy had died when he was a baby, and his daddy worked, really, really hard, at a big office building. Each detail made Tyler more real, more precious, and Maria gripped his hand a little tighter. As they approached Pioneer Square, Maria heard it, a man's voice, hoarse from shouting, calling, "Tyler! Tyler!" over and over with increasing desperation. "Tyler, is that your daddy?" Maria asked. The boy's head snapped up, and his whole face transformed. "Daddy!" he screamed, his voice cracking with relief and joy. A tall man in an expensive coat emerged from behind a fountain, spinning toward the sound. His face was a mask of anguish that shattered into disbelief, then overwhelming relief. He ran toward them, and Maria barely had time to let go of Tyler's hand before the boy launched himself at his father. James Cooper fell to his knees on the pavement, crushing his son against his chest, his whole body shaking with sobs. "Tyler, oh God, Tyler, I thought I lost you, I thought." He couldn't finish, just held his son and rocked him, crying openly in the middle of the square. Maria stood back, forgotten, clutching her container of pasta. This was her cue to leave. They didn't need her anymore. She started to turn away quietly, giving them privacy for their reunion. "Wait." James's voice stopped her. He was looking at her now, still holding Tyler but trying to compose himself enough to speak. "Wait, please. Were you the one who found him?" "I just stayed with him until we could find you," Maria said, uncomfortable with the gratitude radiating from this stranger's face. James stood up, keeping Tyler in his arms. The boy was still crying but had his face buried in his father's neck. "Tyler, who is this? Who helped you?" Tyler turned his head, and through his tears, he said something that made Maria's heart stop. "Daddy, it's her. It's the angel lady from my dream." James's eyes widened, and he stared at Maria with something like shock. "What?" "After his mother died," James said, his voice trembling, "Tyler had terrible nightmares. But then one night, he dreamed about a woman. He said she had kind eyes and she told him that whenever he was scared, someone would always help him. He said she had dark hair and a warm smile, and she was carrying something that smelled good." James looked at the container in Maria's hands, still steaming slightly in the cold air. "He's been telling me about the angel lady for 2 years. I thought it was just his way of processing grief, but—" "I'm not an angel," Maria interrupted, shaking her head. I work at a restaurant. This is just leftover pasta. You brought my son back to me," James said, and there was such raw emotion in his voice that Maria had to look away. "Please, I need to repay you. I need to do something. Anything. You don't owe me anything. I'm just glad he's safe. Please, at least let me drive you home. It's cold, and you." He noticed her thin sweater for the first time, realized she'd given Tyler her jacket. "Please." Maria hesitated. Pride warred with practicality. The bus ride was long, and Sophia was waiting. "I need to get to the Morrison Street shelter," she said quietly, waiting for the familiar look of pity or disgust. But James just nodded. "Okay. Let me take you there. It's the least I can do." The drive was quiet except for Tyler's occasional sniffles from the back seat. Maria sat in the passenger seat of James's BMW, acutely aware of her restaurant smell clothes and the worn-out sneakers on her feet. But James didn't seem to notice or care. He kept glancing at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. When they pulled up to the shelter, Maria reached for the door handle, ready to escape back into her familiar world. But James's voice stopped her again. "I know you don't want charity," he said carefully. "But I own a medical supply company. We're always hiring in our warehouse, in shipping, in customer service. The pay is good, and there are benefits. If you're interested, when you're ready, please call me." He pulled out a business card and pressed it into her hand. No pressure. No obligation. Just an offer. Maria looked down at the card. James Cooper, CEO, Cooper Medical Solutions. The company address was in one of the nice parts of town. "And Maria," James said as she opened the door. "What you did tonight, choosing to help when you clearly have your own struggles, that's not just kindness. That's heroism. Real heroism. Thank you for being the kind of person who stops. The kind of person who cares. You gave me back everything that matters." Maria nodded, not trusting her voice, and climbed out of the car. As she walked toward the shelter entrance, container of now cold pasta in hand, she heard Tyler's voice call out through the open window, "Bye, Angel Lady." "Thank you." She turned and waved, and for the first time in months, she felt something shift inside her chest. Hope, maybe. Or just the reminder that she was more than her circumstances, more than her struggles. She was someone who helped a lost child find his way home. She was someone who chose kindness even when kindness hadn't always been shown to her. That night, lying on her shelter cot with Sophia curled beside her, Maria looked at the business card in the dim light. She didn't know if she'd call. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But she knew that tonight, carrying her leftover food through the cold streets, she'd been exactly where she was supposed to be. And sometimes that knowledge alone was enough to carry you through until morning.